Hello friends, today we will study about the human heart structure. So let's start. Friends, first of all, we should know that where is heart situated inside the human body. As we all know that human body has cavities. For upper cavity is known as thoracic cavity and lower cavity is known as abdominal cavity. Both cavities are separated by the muscular diaphragm. Inside the upper thoracic cavity, you should know that there is a pair of lungs. Both these lungs are separated by the mediastinal space. Towards the base of the left lung, there is a cardiac notch. Cardiac notch is that place where the heart is situated. So, now let's start with the human heart externals. First of all, we will discuss about the human heart wall. Human heart is basically comprises of three layers. Outside to inside, these are pericardium, myocardium and endocardium. As you can see in the diagram, there is a pericardium which is outside in around the heart, and then myocardium, and after that endocardium, which forms around the blood. So pericardium is further divided into two layers. These are parietal pericardium and epicardium. Parietal pericardium and epicardium. Epicardium is also known as visceral pericardium. Visceral pericardium and parietal pericardium both are serous in nature and forms the pericardium. Now, what is myocardium? Myocardium is basically a thick layer of the heart. It is formed by the cardiac muscles, and myocardium and pericardium both are mesodermal in origin. Around the pericardium, outside it, there is a fibrous layer. Fibrous layer is basically made up of fibrous connective tissue, and these fibrous layers forms the human heart skeleton. Pericardium also plays a very important function in human heart structure because this helps the human heart to prevent from any mechanical injury or any shock. So again, inside the myocardium there is endocardium. Endocardium surrounds the blood and human heart walls, which we will discuss ahead. Between the epicardium and parietal pericardium, there is a pericardial fluid. It helps in the protective function of human heart. Friends, now come towards the chamber of the heart. As you know, the heart is made up of four chambers. So what are these four chambers? As you can see in the picture, there are four chambers. One is right atrium and one is left atrium. One is right ventricle and another one is left ventricle. So all these four chambers made the fourth chamber of human heart. So as you can see also in the diagram that right atrium and left atrium both are separated by a septum. This septum is known as intra-atricular septum, and again right ventricle and left ventricle also separated by another septum. This septum is known as intraventricular septum. Here you can see that right atrium and right ventricle both are also separated by another septum. This septum is known as atrioventricular septum. Friends, you can also see here some another structure like these musculi pectini, these moderator bands, these papillary muscles, and these columnae carni. We will discuss about them ahead. Friends, now we will discuss about the circulation of blood, how the blood comes inside the heart and how it circulates inside the heart toward the lungs, and then from the lungs it comes towards the again inside the heart, and from there it goes inside the body. So how it works, let's so friends, how blood comes inside the heart. As you can see in the right atrium, there is some tubes. These tubes, you can see that these tubes situated in the upper portion of the right atrium, and this tube is situated at the lower portion of the right atrium. So how blood collects inside the right atrium? Post caval means a superior vena cava, which is situated upper side. It takes bloods from the upper portion of the body and then put it inside the right atrium. Likewise, post caval or inferior vena cava also collects the blood from the inferior or lower portion of the body and then put it inside the right atrium. You can also see here coronary sinus. What is the function of coronary sinus here? So friends, coronary sinus takes a blood from the heart wall and then put it inside the right atrium. You can know about these things that in the right atrium which blood is collected is deoxygenated blood, not oxygenated. This is deoxygenated blood. You can also see some another structures here like these wall. This is Eustachian valve. Eustachian valve is basically present in the front portion of the postcaval or inferior vena cava. Likewise, you can also see here Thebesian or coronary valve. This valve is situated in front of the coronary sinus. So now friends, one question come into your mind that how blood comes into the right ventricle from the right atrium. So you can see here some gap. This gap is known as tricuspid wall. This valve help in the movement of the blood from the right atrium into the right ventricle. So friends, in the mammalian heart, where 4 chambers are situated in the heart, there are 2 valves. Between the right atrium and right ventricle, there is a valve known as a tricuspid wall. And between the left atrium and left ventricle, there is another valve known as mitral or bicuspid valve. Why they gain these names, tricuspid or bicuspid? Tricuspid because this valve has 3 cusps, or mitral or bicuspid valves contain 2 cusps. That's why these have the name tricuspid valve and bicuspid. Friends, you can also see in the right atrium a comb-like structure. This structure is known as musculi pectini. Musculi pectini helps in the increasement of the power of contraction of the heart without increasing the heart mass substantially. Friends, now here you can see some papillary muscles. You can see that the thickness of the papillary muscles in the right ventricle is less as compared to the left ventricle. Why this condition occurs? So as we come to know that blood comes from the right atrium toward the right ventricle. So now this blood have to pump inside this tube. This tube is known as pulmonary aorta. As you can see here that between the right ventricle and pulmonary aorta there is a valve like structure. This valve is known as semilunar wall. These are 3 semilunar walls. Why they are called semilunar wall? Because they have half moon like structure. That's why these valve called semilunar wall. These valve help to prevent the backflow of blood from the pulmonary aorta inside the right ventricle. Same here, you can say that between the right atrium and right ventricle, when the blood comes from right atria to right ventricle, so this valve, which is known as a tricuspid valve, help in the prevention of backflow of blood from the right ventricle to the right atrium. Friends, you can also see here one another tube. This tube is present between this tube is arise from the left ventricle. This tube is known as systemic aorta. This tube is also at the front portion contain 3 semilunar walls. This is also half moon like structure, that's why I called semilunar wall, and its function is also same like these 3 semilunar walls, which is present between the right atrium and right ventricle, which is present between the right ventricle and pulmonary aorta. Friends, definitely one question come into in your mind by seeing here the thickness of the papillary muscles of the right ventricle and left ventricle. So why the thickness of the papillary muscles in the left ventricle is more? So you can see here friends that when the blood comes from the right atrium towards the right ventricle, then it only goes towards the lung by the pulmonary aorta. So the thickness of the papillary muscle here is less. But when the blood comes here inside the left atria from these pulmonary veins, then it comes inside the left ventricle. From there, from the left ventricle, blood goes toward this systemic aorta and then goes inside the whole body. So that's why here papillary muscle thickness is more, because from here the blood goes inside the whole body, so the pumping should be more, that so that blood goes toward whole body. So friends, now again one time cover the blood circulation inside the whole heart. So first of all, blood comes inside the right atrium through superior vena cava from the upper portion of the body, and from the inferior vena cava toward from the lower portion of the body, and from the coronary sinus from the heart wall of the from the heart wall. So all these deoxygenated blood collected in the right atrium. Through from the right atrium, blood comes inside the right ventricle with the opening of this wall, which is known as a tricuspid wall, because it have three cusps. So blood comes inside the right ventricle. The blood is also deoxygenated here. From the right ventricle, this blood comes inside the pulmonary aorta with the help of opening of these semilunar walls, because these are half moon shaped wall. That's why these are known as a semilunar wall. So blood goes towards this pulmonary aorta. So this blood for the oxygenation come towards the lungs. In the lung, the blood oxygenation process starts. From the lungs, there arises four pulmonary veins. From one lung, two pulmonary vein arise, and from another lung to another pulmonary vein arise. So they forms two pairs of pulmonary veins. One important thing about these pulmonary veins is that they not have any valve. So oxygenated blood directly come inside the left atrium. So from the left atrium, now the blood is oxygenated. So from the left atrium, this blood comes inside the left ventricle with the help of the opening of this another valve known as mitral valve or bicuspid valve, because this valve has two cusps. So now this, in the left ventricle, papillary muscles are more, so they pump the blood with a very high power. So the blood now goes towards the systemic aorta, and this blood from the systemic aorta, means dorsal aorta, comes inside the whole body. So now this oxygenated blood reach toward the whole body cells. Friends, as I said before, that musculi pectini is present only in the right atrium. It is not present in the left atrium. If present, then it is very, very less in amount. So, what is the function of this musculi pectini? Musculi pectini help in the increasement of the power of contraction of the heart without increasement of the heart mass substantially. So now this musculi pectini is comb-like structure and help in the increasement of power contraction of the heart. Friends, you can also see here in the right ventricle and the left ventricle some fissures, these fissures, and the elevations of these fissures are known as columnae carneae. You can also see here some another structure known as chordae tendineae, one portion of which is joined with the columnae carneae and one portion of which is joined with this atrioventricular valve. So friends, these chordae tendineae help in the prevention of the inversion of these valves, so they play also very important function in the heart. You can see also one another structure inside the heart. This is moderator band. You can see here it moderator band. These moderator band help in the conduction system of the heart. About the conduction system or function of the heart we will study next time. Friends, you can see also some another structure here which is present between the right atrium and left atrium. This is known as fossa ovalis. Fossa ovalis in the embryonic stage is known as foramen ovalis. This in the embryonic stage, this is help in the leakage of some deoxygenated blood inside the left atrium with the help of this foramen ovalis. But as the development occur, so this foramen ovalis convert into the fossa ovalis. Same another structure also you can see between these two tubes known between the systemic aorta and between the pulmonary trunk or pulmonary aorta, which is known as ligamentum arteriosum. Ligamentum arteriosum connect both these tubes, systemic aorta and pulmonary aorta. In the embryonic stage, this ligamentum arteriosum is known as ductus arteriosum. So friends, you can see the whole structure here of the heart, which is which play very important role in the human blood circulation. So heart is a very important or vital organ. So thank you friends. If you like this video, then please press the like button, and thanks again.